First, let's start with the Congressman Rick Allen. Congressman, thank you so much for being here today. As always, we're grateful.
Good to be with you, Brad. Always good to be here.
I'm thankful that you're here, first of all, because of what happened last week in D.C., the shooting at the baseball practice. Were you there?
No, I was not there. I'm part of the golf competition.
Yeah.
You know, being from Augusta, I have to be part of that.
I like that.
We have a Ryder Cup competition. In fact, we're getting ready to do that competition there between the Republicans and Democrats next weekend. But I was not part of the baseball team. But of course, I knew everyone that was there well, very well. I knew, I've talked to each one of them. I have not talked to, obviously, Steve Scalise, who was probably the most critically injured. He and a former staffer were the most critically injured. Very fortunate that that thing didn't turn into something really, really bad. Right now, Whip Scalise it seems to be improving, and so is the staffer. Assuming they get well, and we want to pray for them, and them getting well soon, and assuming that they recover, then I'll tell you, we can just get on our knees and thank God that didn't turn into a massacre.
Does it make you worry about your own safety? You know, I thought in the back of my mind when you arrived for the interview today, I thought, I wonder if he'll have more people around him. You do, but it's because you have more people working for you this time of year anyway, in the summertime, internships and whatnot. Right. Does it make you want to surround yourself with more security, to be extra careful?
Well, we get security when we're traveling in the district. Each sheriff in each county, I mean, they ask us to let them know when we're there, where we're going to be. They get our schedules, and they typically put an officer with me. Good. As one sheriff said, he said, I don't want anything to happen to my congressman in my county.
Yeah, no, I guess not.
And they know what's going on, and so, and thank goodness, you know, we haven't had a lot of that. You know, I thought it was pretty interesting. We just had the state Republican convention here, and wow, what a welcome this city put out for them. We didn't have one demonstration.
Yeah, that was impressive.
Yeah.
Can we prevent acts of violence like this? It seems that the answer would be no, these random lone gunmen.
Well, you know, it's like, it's like if you're in a competition, any competition, whether it's sports or, you know, politics is a competition. You run for office. And sure, you want your candidate to win. But, you know, it's not the end of the world, for crying out loud. I mean, you know, I don't know. People are really, the country is on edge.
Well, and people, when you see things like this happen, call for mass reform with our gun laws. Yeah. Do you see anything like that happening, or do we just say, look, this was a crazy guy, let's move on and be safe?
Well, I've heard it both ways. I mean, I've heard it where, you know, these things are happening in these places which have the toughest gun laws in the country. So, you know, why allow just bad guys to have guns? So, no, I don't, you know, I see that, well, obviously, and we have addressed this in Congress, mental health is a big problem in our country. We have some people that are very unstable, and I don't know what pulls that trigger, particularly when these people take people out and then take their own life. Obviously, it's a difficult situation, but we have Dr. Tim Murphy in Congress, a member of Congress, is a psychologist. He has actually helped us. He is also a Navy career officer, and this is what he did in the Navy, is deal with trauma like this. And he had a lot to add as far as, you know, what's going on in the country. In fact, he was the catalyst behind this mental health legislation, because we have an opiate and heroin epidemic in the country.
Yeah, we do. We've seen that break out in Georgia, and it's interesting. You're right. You're seeing the focus shift from gun legislation to mental health legislation, if you will, and focusing on the care of the individual so that they don't get to that breaking point. Congressman, how do you feel about President Trump and the controversy that dogs that man day after day after day? Is he getting anything accomplished, maybe behind the headlines? Are you all doing work up there that he wants done?
Well, you know, unfortunately, it doesn't get a lot of coverage. But yeah, we've got our head down getting our work done. Obviously, we passed health care in the House. Leader McConnell says he's going to pass it in the Senate or have a vote on it in the Senate by July 4th. We have, in one state, Iowa, 94 out of 99 counties that don't have an insurer. Now, you know, they talk about covering lives. I mean, you got 94 counties where you don't have a carrier.
Mm-hmm.
So those folks presumably aren't insured.
Are you confident that this can go through, that the version of the health care plan that the Congress passed, that the House passed, can be passed in the Senate?
Well, I'll tell you, if they can improve on that legislation, I mean, and when I say improve on it, what you have to do, you know, every area of the country is very different. And so it's like legislation is like trying to thread a needle.
Yeah.
Because you've got to deal with other states. You got to deal with states who expanded Medicaid. New York, California. It's 14 million people on Medicaid in California. There's half the people in the state of New York on Medicaid. So you got to deal with all those issues. And so you have to keep working the legislation until you get the best of everything you can get. Now, is it perfect? You know, I told folks at the convention, because I was asked a lot about it, I said, you know, I've been in the business world. Donald Trump came from the business world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're just trying to turn the ship around. Are we going to get everything we want? No. And it's got to be incremental.
You know, I think the longer you're in Congress, the more patient you have become. Because I remember when you first started, you know, you felt like you were banging your head against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
But now it is a process, and
well,
it does take time.
We worked awful hard on that health care legislation because we made the American people a promise that we were going to repeal and replace Obamacare. We were going to fix health care. We have started the conversation on health care. Every American needs to get involved. We need to hear from you. We need to know what your thoughts, and I have gotten a lot of advice on health care, and I think we're going to come out with something not only that will help immediately, some things we put in here, for example, Maryland, they put in the invisible risk pool. It drove down premiums 50% in the state of Maine. And so, you know, it's just things like that some states have done some wonderful things regarding health care to bring down costs and to increase competition. So we tried to adopt those things. We get those working. We continue to improve on. This is not a one-shot deal. But this is constant improvement.
And do you think, very quickly before we go to break, do you think that the controversy that has surrounded the president, that has followed him, will continue to through this first term in office? Do you think it's just going to be part of his presidency, and you all will just kind of try to quietly work in the background?
Well, I don't know. I tell you, he's been an amazing man to work with. You know, he's got his head down. I mean, he's talking about he came to our conference, mm-hmm. and it, you know, at like 5 o'clock in the morning, he called Leader McCarthy on the day we put health care on the floor, and he said, "I got 6 members you need to talk to make sure we get their vote on this." This is the President of the United States.
The guy rarely sleeps, it appears.
I mean, really. And so, but yeah, he's been by far the most productive president we've had. I mean, he signed 30 bills. Half of those were regulatory reforms.
When we come back, folks, we're going to continue to talk about issues that are facing Congress. We'll talk about the safety and the security of the United States, not only on the cyber front, but on the military threat front.